Okay, this is the third episode of Writers Aren't Always Right. This time, we're looking at Curtis Brown Creative. When I looked up the word writing advice novels on Google, this was the first one that came up on the list. So if it's the first one, you would expect it to be the best, right? So that's what we're thinking, and it seems promising. I didn't look at all of the tips. I didn't read them all because I want to read them with you guys for the first time. But anyway, I did look at some of them because I had to cut up the screenshots in a way that is easy to read. So I did have to read it a little bit to see where is a good cutting off point. It seems promising. What did I write here? I literally don't remember. I don't remember what I wrote, how I made this. Okay. Right. It says how writers are problematic. Writers say, here is advice. Listen to it. It's the only and best golden one-of-a-kind advice that only I, a writer of something years, can tell you. Yes, I see a lot of this where a writer, anyone says, okay, here is how to write a compelling character. Here is how to create tension. Here is how to write dialogue. Listen, this is the only and the best golden one-of-a-kind advice that I am going to give you. I am a writer. I've been doing this for something years. And often they don't say if they were wrong before. Like those videos or articles could be 5, 6 years old, and is it still the same advice? And obviously they have also grown as writers. Has any of it changed? And I think it's important to admit that. I don't know why I'm starting with this. Why am I starting with this? Anyway, so if you're new here, hello. I often forget to say things, so I might write notes when I make the slides. I don't think I did that too much this time because I do want to have a first reaction to a lot of things most of the time. And so I'm going to be reacting and giving my opinions, and the purpose of this video is to see if this advice is actually helpful and does it give what the article title says. So the good thing about this, look, I have pattern in my background this time. It's sunflower pattern because it's summer. And some people are not going to watch this in the summer, are they? So flowers, nice. Flowers are nice. Okay. I'm making hand gestures, but you can't see me. So the good thing that you can't see me is that, well, you can have me on the background and you can be doing things like washing the dishes, folding laundry, doing your chores, doing homework. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Or you can be listening to me just with your headphones or whatever the heck you use to listen to things. Anyway, so sometimes I wish that these pauses that I have, that there is music playing in the background, but I don't want to be bothered with that. Maybe someday I'll be bothered with that, but I just don't want to be bothered with that. Okay, so as I said, Curtis Brown Creative was the top in my search when I looked up writing advice novels in Google, and Curtis Brown Creative was the first one. And so this is the third episode. I went through Writer's Digest and I went through Masterclass. Masterclass was kind of a disappointment, to be honest. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. Okay, now before I start, I have to shake up my coffee and drink it because I need coffee. Can I get the straw out? Okay, I got the straw out. I am reporting to you. Into the cup. That is some good caramel macchiato. Okay, very caramelly. Are you drinking something? Are you drinking coffee, tea, water, whatever it is that you like? Let's keep ourselves hydrated, shall we? Okay. All right. So at the beginning of Curtis Brown Creative article, which is called How to Start Writing a Novel. This was published on January 16, 2020. And in the beginning, actually, the other articles, some of them did start with a little bit of a beginning before they give the tips. But I wanted to show this beginning before the tips. And it says, have you been mulling over a good story idea for years, but failing to actually get started? Or perhaps you're putting words down, but feeling unsure of what you're doing and where you're headed with it. Writing a novel can be exciting and hugely satisfying, but at times it can feel like an impossibly enormous task that can plunge you into dark places. ... I'm the director of Curtis Brown Creative and tutor of our Starting to Write Your Novel course anyway. So this Anna Davis person is the one that wrote the article. And so she goes on, here are some of my best tips on how to get your novel going on a sure footing and to feel good about your exciting new project. I don't know if she speaks in an accent or not, but I gave her one. So, anyway, it starts out like this. Have you been mulling over a good story idea for years? You're failing to actually get started. So hopefully they will tell us how to get started, maybe how to put words down, how to head through with the story. I'm making lots of hand gestures, but you can't see me. Why am I doing this? I should be still. And enormous task that can plunge you into dark places. So hopefully this article will not plunge us into dark places and take us out of those dark places and bring us into the light, not in a death kind of sense, but in a light kind of sense, a hopeful, non-writer's blocky kind of sense. Okay, here we go. All right, first tip, set aside proper, regular time to write. Now, when I first see this, by the way, I have background. It's waves. It's summer. It's not going to be summer anymore. Set aside proper regular time to write. I already have kind of some issues with this. And the issues are that not everyone has time to write and time to make a regular writing schedule is what I'm trying to say. Basically, I have trouble with this first tip, but let's see what it says, actually. If you're not curious, if you're curious about doing this, you could be curious too. If you're serious about doing this, show yourself and your writing some respect. Figure out some regular time to do it, and then stick to that. Writing a book is both amazing and also at times a difficult slog. It's amazing and difficult. That doesn't sound like it should be a contrasting thing. It should be like both fun and difficult or something like that. Amazing? I don't know. Let's continue. It'll completely fall away if you don't keep it up. It's hard to hold your novel in your head so that you can get down to work quickly and easily. If you leave long gaps between writing sessions and work erratically, you'll be giving yourself a big uphill struggle and you're much more likely to give up. I don't know about that. It says continue because I couldn't get to running. Okay, continue. This is extremely long. Let's read it. What, quote, regular writing time actually is varies from person to person. It could be the famous dawn session that many people wake up to each day. It might mean grabbing an hour to write every afternoon while your baby sleeps, or taking your laptop or notebook on your train journeys to and from work. Perhaps you can manage 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon, but not during the weekend. For some people, shortage, italics, of time is not a problem. But instead, the challenge is to create structure in your time and find your focus. Here, too, my tip would be to establish a workable and productive routine. Don't expect yourself to be able to write all day, every day. This can be very daunting. Instead, decide on designated shorter time slots for your writing. You'll probably find you can achieve more that way. In general, my tip is to regularize your writing hours as far as you can. Stick to this schedule and make sure others around you understand that it's important for you to be able to do this. Okay, so this is the first tip, and okay, so let's break it down. Let's go back. Okay, show yourself in your writing some respect. How? How? How do I do that? How do I do that? I don't know. Figure out some regular time to do it and then stick there. Okay. When they say regular time, they're not saying, it doesn't seem like they're saying, when you look at the next slide, it doesn't seem like they're saying to try to write every day, but try to create like a habit to allocate some writing time for yourself, and to not write erratically. One thing I'd like to say is because I feel like, well, personally, I feel like I'm being kind of told that my work way is erratic. But it can't be helped. My schedule is kind of erratic. It can't be helped. I can't always write on a Sunday or write for an hour after dinner or something. Coffee break. That really is some good caramel macchiato. You'll be giving yourself a big uphill struggle. You're much more likely to give up. Well, no. Well, okay. So if you are someone who is very, very passionate about writing, even if your schedule is erratic, you are less likely to give up because you're passionate about the writing, and so you won't give up. So telling people that if they are erratic that they will give up is like saying something bad about somebody's schedule. I don't know. I just think that it's okay to be erratic. Being erratic doesn't mean that you'll give up. You know what I'm saying? Being erratic doesn't mean you'll give up. Being erratic doesn't mean that you're giving yourself an uphill struggle. Maybe erratic is the way of life for you. My desk is a mess, but I call it organized chaos because I know basically where everything is. Basically, it's fine. Basically, it's fine. And I know some of you probably have super messy desks or super messy rooms, but it's not messy. It's actually organized in your mind. It's not a struggle for you. It's not erratic at all. So it depends on the person, this kind of thing. Okay. So the next part where it says, air quote, regular writing time, that's what it says. It actually has the quotes on the regular writing time. It varies from person to person. Yes, that. Thank you, Curtis Brown Creator, for saying the right thing that those other writing article sites have not been saying. Regular writing is different from person to person. It might be every day. It might be once a week. It might be only 3 hours on a Sunday. They said it very well, nicely. Thank goodness. Okay, so yes, to create structure. And when they say create structure, they're not saying write every day. And even says, don't expect yourself to be able to write all day, every day. This can be very daunting. Instead, decide on designated shorter time slots for your writing. You'll probably find you can achieve more that way. So like an hour here, 2 hours there, 3 hours there, that kind of thing. Maybe even 10 minutes, or something like that. And it also says, my tip is to regularize your writing hours as far as you can. So even if you weren't able to write last Sunday, that's fine. That's totally fine. You'll just write this Sunday. You don't have to, you stick to it as much as you can, as much as you're able to. And that seems to be what they are saying here. And thank goodness, some writing advice article is finally saying the right thing. In a previous Writer's Digest and Masterclass, when they talk about writing every day or having a regular schedule, they actually meant they want you to write every day. I mean, they didn't say that, but it implied it. And if I were a newbie reading that article, I might feel that way. Okay, and we're moving on. I quite like this first tip. I mean, there's some things that were a little, you're not erratic. If you work in chaos and that's how your life is, then it's not going to be such a struggle for you because that's all you know, that's your life, and that's how you work. It's fun. Okay, moving on to the second tip. Okay, Tip is just one side. Yep. Okay. Here we go. Tip number 2. Don't expect your words to come out perfectly straight away. Okay. Let's read. Lots of people start off enthusiastically writing a first draft, but then when they read over their material, they find it's not as good as they want it to be, and they just delete it all. Try to go easy on yourself. If your internal editor gets too dominant, you'll spend your whole time deleting the material you've just written, and you'll never get beyond the first page or 2. It's better to just keep going and not look back too much for a good while. You can sort your prose out and make it read better later on, when you've got the rest of your story done. Remember, great novels are made in the rewrite, and very few writers would dream of showing anyone their first draft. I would. Anyway, so the second tip is also very nice. I really like the second tip. A reason is that, yes, it's true. Lots of people start off enthusiastically writing the first draft, and then they read it over. It's like, oh, it sucks. This is nothing compared to the great novels that I've read. I must not be cut up to be a writer. I'm going to delete it all. Start all over again. Try again and again and again. I still can't do it. Maybe I should just give up. I've seen people like that. I've seen on these Facebook groups that I'm in, there are people who are just writing their first draft, rewrite, over and over. Not the first draft, the first chapter, the first page, over and over and over. And they cannot get past the first page. It's just ridiculous. They're stopped there and they're like, maybe I'm not supposed to be a writer. Maybe I should just, what should I do, everyone? Can you help me? I've seen that so many times. And the thing is, first drafts suck. They suck. That's the truth. That's the truth. All my first drafts suck. There is no such thing as a first draft that gets published without editing. There is no such thing. All the books that you find at the library or the bookstore or the secondhand store, all the books have been edited. The version that you're seeing is super, super polished. I don't know how many rewrites people might go through. 5, 6, 8, 10, 100. I don't know. Quite a bit. And that's the reality. So you can imagine someone like, who's a popular author? Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett's first draft probably sucked. I mean, there's probably some things in there that were great, but most of the time, first drafts stuck. And he probably rewrote it, edited it so many hundreds and dozens of times. Hundreds and dozens? Does that even make sense? Anyway, so he probably rewrote it hundreds and thousands of times, and then it goes through an editor, right? It goes through an editor, and then through the editor, you then edit through the editor many more times after that. And then you have to get different types of editing done. Did you know that? There are different types of editing that you have to get done. You have to get the developmental editing, which is looking at the plot and making sure everything makes sense and is consistent. And then you have the line editing, which you look at every line and you see if it flows and reads nicely. And then there's the copy editing, which is making sure everything flows nicely together. And then there's the proofread, which is making sure everything, you get the thing. There's just so many layers of editing and so many things that you have to do. I'm making so many hand gestures, you don't even know. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the first draft sucks, and that's fine. And you just need to move on. You need to move on from that first chapter. Just say, oh, heck with it. That's what editing is for. You have to go back. You have to edit it. But that's after you finish the first draft. Just vomit it out onto the page. Just get it down, get the whole thing down, and then you can go back and edit if you really got to do it yourself. It's actually good to do it yourself first. Anyway, so what they're saying here is don't expect your words to come up perfectly straight away. I don't know if that's a tip. That's not really a tip, but it's a good thing to say to new writers because I have so many people, I'm going to say it again, so many people on these Facebook writing groups that are like, oh, my first draft I just don't know if I can go on from this first chapter. It just sucks. It's horrible. I just don't know. And then they even think about giving up. And everybody in the comments is like, no, don't give up. Just keep writing past your first chapter. Just keep going. It'll be fine. You can always go back and edit. Everyone says it. Everyone. Okay. I don't know why my voice came out like that. Coffee break. Good coffee makes for a good break. That's for sure. All right. I also want to highlight this last paragraph here where it says, remember, great novels are made in the rewrite. That is such a good sentence because it's so true. As I said, Terry Pratchett probably went through hundreds of drafts. Definitely went through, not probably, he definitely went through many, many, many rewrites. And George R.R. Martin went through many, many rewrites. Stephen King went through many, many rewrites. Nobody is safe from this, okay? Nobody can just write a first draft, collect 200, pass go, and everything. They can't. Okay? So, tip 2. Very nice tip. Okay. I don't know if it's a tip. It's a good thing to say, though. Okay, let's move on. I need to click the screen and then click enter. Okay. Alright, this one has a little continue down here, which means this was too long. Okay. Alright. Curtis Brown Creative writing paragraphs of tips. Let's go. 3rd tip. Loosen up your writing and relax. It's an interesting tip. Let us read. If the big white screen and the blinking cursor intimidate you... Wait. Blinking cursor? The cursor blinks? What error is this? Wait, hold on. Wait, do cursors? Oh, blinking cursor. Oh, you mean the little eye thing. Okay. Sorry. I wish I could cut this part out of my video, but I thought they were talking about the pointer mouse thing. And I think, wait, what? That doesn't blink? But yes, the cursor does blink. Okay. Let's drink some coffee, okay? Collect ourselves. All right. Now let's read. If the big white screen and the blinking cursor intimidate you, take yourself off computer and try writing longhand in a notebook for a while. If the very idea that you're writing a novel is choking you up so the words won't come out, try to lumber up with some free writing. By this, I mean just set yourself 5 minutes or 10 to write down everything that comes into your head. Do it without stopping at all. This helps to lift the filter that sits between your head and your writing hand and sets you up for the real writing. Parentheses, a bit like stretching before a run. Let's continue. Oh. Writing prompts can also be helpful. Just take an opening line that strikes you as interesting and see where it takes you. You can use visual prompts, like a striking photo you've seen in the newspaper to write a short story. Here are some prompts you might like to try. Every night when he came through the door, he thought maybe she'd be there. Next one. She was small for her age. Next one. Sam wondered what was inside the box. Last one. There was no safety net. What kind of writer are you? When you start writing a novel, you will inevitably fall into one of 2 categories. I have a whole theory about this, which you can read along with my tips to help you get going. I think this is pointing to some kind of course or something. I don't know. Okay, let's go back to the tip. Okay, loosen up your writing and relax. Okay, so I saw this free writing tip, and I think it was Masterclass that gave this free writing tip as well. And they didn't do a very good job, in my opinion, to give that free tip. However, Curtis Brown Creative is coming through for us. So, where does it say? It says, just set yourself 5 minutes or 10 to write down everything that comes into your head. Do it without stopping at all. This helps to lift the filter that sits between your head and your writing hand. It sets you up for the real writing. Okay, so This is kind of like flash fiction. So I used to be on this writing website called Figment Write Yourself In. And this website is now dead. But it was such a good website, and they did these, were they weekly or monthly? They could have been weekly, flash fiction sort of contest where we would get, 5 words, and we could like change them up. It's like if one of the words was like, fear, we could say fearing or feared or frightened, like a synonym. And we'd have to use those 5 words and write a 500-word story. And then we would post it on the writing website as part of the, to enter the competition. And the one who won the competition, I think they would be featured on the homepage. Their story will be on the homepage, and everyone can go and look at it easily. Those were nice. So in those, yes, you'd have these 5 words, and you just write whatever just comes to your mind. Another thing they did was they would give us a prompt or something. They would give us like, they would give us a prompt like, your character has become self-aware, or something like that, or your best friend has betrayed you, or and this is not just you, like a personal you don't have to write like a first person story. You could write a third person story. You could say she, or you could say I. Either way was fine, or whatever you wanted to do. Some people wrote poems, some people wrote stories. It was all over the place. Anyway, what I'm saying is that this free writing is really good practice. I did a lot of free writing too. I have a lot of stories that are just 500 words or just even a few paragraphs, because it was just something that just came to my mind. And I thought, just get it out, and some of those have turned into full novels. Some of them. I say novels. Novel length stories which have not really been edited, which may be, I don't know, I haven't thought about publishing those stories. But anyway, enough about me. So, yeah, I did a lot of free writing, and I do say that it really helps getting your creative muscles working, because I find after being a writer for, how long have I been a writer for? How long have I been a writer for? Or over 10 years. 10 years? 10 years. No, over 10 years, yes. About 14, 15 years or so that I've been a writer, that I would have considered myself as being a writer. And during that time, I did a lot of free writing, and it's really helped keeping my creative muscles going. Sometimes even when I'm editing, and like right now, all I'm doing is editing, and sometimes I just write something, just free writing. I find these pretty pictures on Pinterest, and I write a story based on a picture. I write whatever comes to my mind. Whatever comes to my mind. Maybe I'll share some here. I've shared them elsewhere, but they're not available for everyone to look at, so maybe I'll share some here just to show you what free writing is actually like. These are drafts. These are sucky drafts, but they help your creative muscles moving. They keep them moving. They keep them loose and limber, being my gym. I wonder if you guys even know that poem. There are some poems that my mom made me remember when I was little. I don't know why she did that, but it solidified my love of fun children's poetry. That was good, yeah. Anyway, yes, set yourself 5 or 10 minutes, just write up everything that comes into your head without stopping at all. And you say, well, I need prompts. So, Curtis Brown Creative has some prompts in their tips. Wow. They are so helpful. Okay. We'll see if they are completely helpful. We're just on the 3rd tip, and there are, I don't know how many tips. There actually weren't as many as I thought that there would be. Anyway, we're moving on to this next section or next part here where they talk about the prompts. So they say, just take an opening line that strikes you as interesting. So you can go what kind of a accents that you can go to your favorite book and find some writing that you like of your favorite author. That was really hard to listen to, wasn't it? Sorry. So you can go to like your favorite book of your favorite author or whatever and pick up the first line and start doing it yourself. Whatever you think. But that kind of a method generally influences me because I like, what is it? The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. I love the first line in The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. Shannon Hale. I thought, wait, is it Shannon Hale? Yeah, it is Shannon Hale. Yeah, I'm not wrong, right? It's my favorite author. I'm not wrong, of course not. Okay, I had some doubts for a second there. It starts out with like main character name, and then she did not open her eyes for 3 days, and that is just she did not open her eyes for 3 days. What is going on? What is this? What is this story? I need to know more about this character. She didn't open her eyes for 3 days when she was born. Okay. If I took that first line and tried to write my own story, it would be hard for me because I know the character and I know the story just so well. I wouldn't be able to write something of an original based off of a non-original. So it's good if you can look up like writing prompts and go through those and just find one that sort of strikes you and just go with it. Just go with it. Don't think about anything. Don't think you're not going to even show this to anyone. You don't have to show it to anyone. You just write. Just write whatever comes to your mind. It can be so silly and stupid, and that's fine. It can sound like a children's book. That's fine. It can be about ego robots or anything you want, really. Okay. We can even go. Why don't we do that? Okay, so this first prompt says, every night when he came through the door, he thought maybe she'd be there. Okay, so this could be one thing I gotta say. If this is your first line, don't do it. You need a character name in there somewhere. Like, every night when Stuart came through the door, he thought maybe Susan would be there. Every night, when he came through the door, he thought maybe Susan would be there. Maybe the reason he's coming through the door and he's thinking she'd be there is that they are a couple living together, and she lives there. So when he comes to the door, he thought maybe she'd be there. This prompt really isn't getting me. I really don't. Do you have any idea? Do you have any good ideas? Maybe these aren't human beings. Maybe they're aliens. Maybe they're werewolves or some other shapeshifter. Or sorry, I keep going into a fantasy mind because I'm a fantasy writer most of the time. Or every night when he came to the door, he thought maybe she'd be there. Maybe she'd be there. She, who is she? We should go on to that. Susan was his sister. Susan was his lover. Susan was his mother, his aunt. I mean, we're not saying that he came to the door and thought she'd be there. We're not saying she could be his daughter. She could be his wife, his mother, his aunt, his nemesis, his dog. I mean, nothing says here that that she has to be a human. It could be a cat. It could be a penguin, a dinosaur, anything, and come through the door. The first thing that came to my mind was he's going into a house. He's coming home to a house, but maybe he's going to visit an animal in a zoo cage, or maybe it's a lab or something like that. So it can really go anywhere, these prompts. And the second one that says she was small for her age, this can really be anything. It could be a human. It could be a piglet, or a kitten, or a alien, a dragon, or what was that story? What was it called? It was called Arlo. The dinosaur was called Arlo. I can't remember the name of the movie. Might have also been called Arlo. That was Pixar, I think. And he was small for his age, I think. Or at least he was the youngest, Arlo, the dinosaur. What did he call the human? What did Arlo call the little human boy? Pal? No, not Pal. That's Arthur. I don't remember. Spot. Yeah, he called him Spot. That's right. Have you seen that movie? The one called Arlo with the dinosaur with Pixar? So the movie starts out with this, sort of going on a tangent here a little bit. The movie starts out with showing these dinosaurs grazing in this field. Meteor is coming. Oh no! And so the popular belief is that the meteors sort of destroyed the dinosaurs. But in this movie, the meteor just passes by Earth, and the dinosaurs go back to eating. So then later, many, many years later, the dinosaurs are now intelligent. They build houses, even though they're still standing on all fours. I don't really know. Anyway, and they have farmland, and they're intelligent now. They speak a language and everything like that. And the humans are kind of like animals. It's interesting how the humans still evolved, even though the humans evolved from these little mouse creatures. But I don't know. You can't question children's movies so much. Anyway, you guys should watch Arlo. It was, oh my gosh, it gets at your heartstrings. And there's this weird, there is one weird sort of scene where the characters eat some kind of nut or berry and they get high, which is weird to have in a children's movie. But maybe they made it for the adults. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. They really didn't need to have that scene. It was the movie, they could have just completely put that into the, deleted scenes. They could have just put it there. But they didn't. It was in the movie. Ugh, I don't know who decided that? Anyway. Let's not go through all of these prompts, but you can see how it works, right? You can see that, right? So just because it says he, she doesn't mean it has to be a human. It could be dragons or aliens or fairies or vampires or whatever. This could be set in the future. It could be set in the past. It could be set in the present. It could be your life. It could be somebody else's life. Okay. So it says, what kind of writer are you? When you start writing a novel, you inevitably fall into one of two categories. Does she get into these categories? She doesn't get into these categories, so I have no idea what she's talking about, what Anna Davis is talking about here. I'm guessing she's talking about if you're a pantser or a planner, because those would be sort of like the two sort of categories, even though there is something in the middle called planter. So basically, if you tend to want to outline a novel, or if you want to write by the seat of your pants, just write and do free writing every time. But anyway, theory about this, which you can read along with my tips to help you get going. She's probably talking about some of the courses and books that she has on this. I don't know. Anyway, why don't we move on? I went on such a long tangent. I'm probably boring you at this point. Let's move on. Explore your ideas. Write down everything you know about what you want your novel to be. Jot down little half-formed thoughts and ideas and see where they take you. If there is a burning question you want to explore, note that down. If you're fascinated by a setting or a time period or a subject, scribble notes about it. It's through these meandering jottings that ideas will take shape. Okay, so this is sort of like an extension of what you might do when you're either planning a novel or you're free writing. Explore your ideas. So this is something that I think I used to do a lot more when I was first starting out. Let's have a little coffee break. You know, when you talk and you suddenly have something like this where you're talking for like an hour and a half or something like that, your voice and your brain and your throat, not prepared at all. I did do some singing. I do sometimes sing, not professionally. I mean like for fun. You know, just I sang, what did I sing? Keep Holding On by Avril Lavigne. I don't even know. I don't know how to say her name. I don't know how to say her name. It's like French or something. I don't know. How do you say Avril's name? I sung Under the Sea, just for fun, with a fake Jamaican accent, or copying Sebastian anyway. No, I cannot do it. Not doing it now. Don't make me. What else did I sing? I sang Let Her Go by Passengers or Passenger? I can't remember which. Sang Vanilla Twilight by Owl City, just to get my mouth around words and get my throat exercised. But still not prepared for this, are we? Anyway, you might be able to tell as I drink coffee that I start getting very energized and excited about things. So, explore your ideas. Ooh, very exciting. Wow. Write down everything you know about what you want your novel to be. This is probably something, yes, I was saying that I did in the beginning when it was first starting out writing, because I just didn't know what to do. I mean, I was just doing whatever I felt like doing. I wasn't following anyone's advice. I wasn't even looking up advice as much. I just didn't know what to do. I just wanted to write stories. So I just wrote stories. I didn't think about anything. I didn't think about any rules or structure or anything. But I had always been a bookworm. So I've been reading a lot of books. And, well, I say a lot of books, but it's probably not hundreds and hundreds of books or anything like that. But I did read a lot. Of books, especially fantasy books. And so I sort of knew how stories go. So I would just, and yeah, ideas and thoughts of what I could be. I did that a little bit in the beginning. I didn't do a lot of it actually. Most of my exploring ideas were done through, because I'm a pantser. So that means I explore my ideas as I write the story. Which means, of course, I can always write myself into a corner. That's the thing about pantsers. It comes with it. But I started getting better at not doing that to myself. But yeah, I think it is good to, if you're starting out, to explore your ideas, especially you don't know where you're going to take the story. It might be good to just write down this and that and sort of put them together and see what you can get. And in this last sentence, it says it's through these meandering jottings that ideas will take shape. And yeah, especially if like you don't know where your novel is going, you jot out all these ideas and then you think, this connects to this. This connects to that. Ooh, how about we do this? And then we do that. And oh, I can see my novel now. Yes, that could happen. That could happen. And I think I know some people that do that. A lot of those people do turn into planners, like they outline their novel. But if you're starting out, yeah, it's probably good practice to do. It's probably good get yourself used to having ideas and used to not discarding ideas when it's like, I'm just going to discard this idea because it doesn't sound like a best-selling novel idea. No, you don't discard it. You write it down. Write down everything. Write everything down. Explore your ideas. Okay, moving on. All right. We need to click the screen and then press enter. Okay. 5th tip. Okay. Ask yourself what-if questions. Oh, this is really good because I used to give tips like this. I used to say, always ask what if. That is a tip that I used to give to newbie writers when I was still like I wasn't a newbie anymore. But I thought I was less newbie enough to give newbies tips. You see what I'm saying? That's the problem, because sometimes you're still a newbie and you don't realize the tips that you're giving are actually wrong. But anyway, I used to ask what-if questions. I used to tell people to ask what-if questions. Coffee break. What if? We drink coffee and we end up in Coffee Land. Coffee Land. Okay, I don't know what that was. Let's read. When you feel you've come up with a character who intrigues you, or a striking opening scenario, or the vague shape of a story, interrogate your ideas with what questions. For instance, there's a woman sitting alone in a restaurant looking sad. What if a man comes up to her and asks if he can join her at her table? But what if she wants to be alone for a reason? What could that reason be? And how will the man react when she turns him down? What if he thinks he knows her from many years ago? What if questions can take you on a journey that builds story and plot? I don't know about this example, but I see where they're going. Okay, what if questions. The what if kinds of tips. Let me tell you the what if kinds of tips that I was giving writers when I was still kind of new. Which was a bad idea. But I still like my tip of asking what if questions because I do that to myself all the time. Basically, so okay, you will okay, let me organize my thoughts. This is non-scripted, you can tell. So imagine you look outside and you see a person walking a dog. Since I have a fantasy mind, I say, what if the dog is not a dog? What if the dog is actually a shapeshifter that only turns into a dog when the sun comes up? What if the human doesn't know this? What if the human doesn't realize that his dog goes out at night to party as a human? What if the dog is one day found out? Or if I'm writing a story and it's sometimes I start out my stories with there was one story I started out with, she was running through the forest. Why is she running through the forest? Because someone is chasing her. Is that person an enemy? What if they're a friend? What if they're a family member? What if she trips and stumbles and he catches up to her? What will happen then? How will she escape? Why is she trying to escape? What does she have that he wants? Maybe she has some kind of special magical stone that he wants, and he's evil, and he's trying to take over the world or something like that. Now that's a story, right? Why does she have this stone? Who is she? We need to know more about this character. We need to know her story. See, there you go. There's a story. There is a story right there. So you begin with asking what if questions. You can also ask, and how does this happen? Who is she? Where does this happen? Because setting plays a big part in a story. So if they are chasing each other in a forest, foresty things will happen. You know, they trip on tree roots. I have a lot of that. They trip on tree roots, they fall into the water, they tumble down a hill, they hit their head, they pass out, or whatever. They get lost in the woods, or maybe the setting is on a cliff. She could fall off the cliff. What if she does? Will she survive? Is she somehow immortal? Does she have powers that will save her? Does he have powers? Will they fight at the end of the cliff? What if they did? What if he loses? What if she wins? What will happen? You know, you could just keep asking yourself questions. Asking yourself questions. Just throwing questions out at yourself. And just keep those twisty questions coming. I used to say, throw yourself some curveballs. So, your characters are just walking along, having a good old jolly time in the forest. What if a storm happens and a tree is struck? There's danger now that there are aliens. And I don't even write about aliens. Why am I talking about aliens so much today? I have no idea. Maybe my writer brain wants to write about aliens, and that's why I keep thinking about aliens. But start talking like Buster Baxter from Arthur. Aliens. Anyway, so that's very good tip. Also, an extension of that, ask yourself questions, or more generally, I guess, on extension. How, when, why, who is very important. Who is this person? Who is that person? You know, what is their, where do they come from? Who are you? You know, that kind of thing. Let's move on, shall we? I just clicked enter. I just pressed enter. Click the screen. Press enter. Okay. How do you like my sunflower background? I do wave background, and I do sunflower background. Wave, sunflower, wave, sunflower. Okay, moving on. 6. Get to know your characters. Okay, this is something I don't really do this very well. I don't do much. Maybe I should. Okay. Let's just read. Think about who, italics, your characters are. Not just what they do in the story and what their names are. You might like to put together character fact files. Create character mood boards, in quotes, I don't know why they did that, full of images which relate to them. Throw your main characters into difficult, they wrote it twice, into difficult situations. Is that a typo, or did they actually want to write it twice? Throw your main character into difficult situations. Sounds silly. Anyway, to see how they react, write some dialogue so you can feel their voices shaping up. And think about what motivates them. Characters in a novel need to be so much more than chess pieces to be moved about the board according to your strategy. Okay. Well, Anna Davis, which is a very nice name to say over and over. Anna Davis. Anyway, that is a good tip. But also, mood boards doesn't have to be in quotes. I think mood boards is a set thing that people of writers can very benefit from. They can very benefit from it. Yes. I cannot speak English. Okay, let's move on. Full of images. I just spoke in a kind of weird English-Japanese accent, which I am allowed to do because I am part Japanese, and I actually record all my videos in Japan. I actually live in Japan, so I am allowed to make a fake Japanese English accent. I am not. Anyway, I don't think anyone would hound me for that. Hound me for the mood boards. Okay. A mood board full of images. Maybe I should talk about mood boards I do a lot of aesthetic. Why is this word is so hard to say? Okay. Aesthetic boards. I make a lot of those, and mood boards, and character aesthetic boards. I make a lot of those. I enjoy making them. When I first started making them, I had no idea what I was doing. But I have since figured out how to make them. Practice makes perfect, of course. I might talk about mood boards. I don't know if I can give good tips of how to make mood boards. I just kind of feel my way through them most of the time, but maybe I can talk about my mood boards that I have. Coffee break. Ah, tasty. And it says, throw your main characters into difficult situations. I don't know if they actually meant to write it twice, but that sounds funny. Doesn't it sound funny? Difficult situations. It's not even difficult situations. It's difficult situations. I think that's a typo, but it's funny. Okay. Let's see how they react. Yes, so I am not very good at getting to know my characters. I'll admit that. That is one place in which I am lacking. I don't like to do I don't like to use, there are all these personality tests, right, that you can use on yourself. You can also use it on your characters. And I tried to do that once, but look, I have fantasy. My characters don't live in the modern world. So there were some things there that just don't apply to them. Like, what was it? There was something about, like, workplace, and, like, my characters don't work, like, in a workplace like you're imagining. So, of course, the results are, like, not what I thought that they would be at all, and completely wrong, and just some things just don't apply. And those personality tests, they take so long to do. I don't have the patience for that. Maybe some of you do. Maybe someone would like those things. I tried it on myself, and I got 2 different results. So I don't know how accurate they are either. I mean, you can do them. A lot of people do them, you know. I know some of the INFJDC, I don't really know what, but there are different kind of personalities and stuff like that. And they got me wrong twice, so either I don't know myself at all, or they just wrong. So, about those personality tests, like, you can do them on your characters if you want, don't have to, some people like them, some people don't, I don't know, whatever you want to do. Just not for me. Not sure if I really believe them either. Anyway, so getting back. Yes, putting your characters into different situations can help you understand how they react. So not how they react in those situations, but how they would react in general. So, like, if you put me, let's see, if you introduce me to a person who was shyer than me, I would be like the talkative one. And if you introduce me to a group, I would be so quiet, you won't even believe it's the same person. Maybe you will. I don't know. I'm an ambivert, meaning that I enjoy being around people, just not all that much. Not as much as an extrovert. I won't go up to a group and say, "Hey, I'm Anna. What do you like to do for fun?" No, I don't do that. I wait to be talked to, usually if there's like a group of people, and I just like so worried about getting up there. But once I'm in like a small group is okay, yeah. So that kind of thing, like putting your character, I'm not a character, I'm a real person, not a robot either. I'm a real person. There should be a song like that. I'm a real person, not a robot. I'm a human, a real person. Yeah, anyway. So, putting a character in different situations. I've done this it's quite fun, actually, especially if you've written a lot of your story and you have some idea of who your character is. Um, just a sort of side note, you don't have to figure out who your character is right away. You can do that as you're writing, and it can change as you're writing. Just as you are developing as a writer, your character is also developing as a fictional character. They're not just a name, height, eye color, hair color, favorite clothes being. They are much deeper. So, like if you put it in different situations, I have this character called Richard. And so this isn't my main project. This is a story where the focus is on the villains, and Richard is a villain. He's an assassin, and he's also kind of immortal. Anyway, Richard has a interesting outlook on life because he's immortal, and he's also very, very full of himself, and he's aware of that. And he's also kind of he's a human, but since he's been immortal for so long, he sort of sees humans as lesser than him. Anyway, so I usually enjoy, no. What I'm trying to say is I don't do it as often as probably I should. I like putting Richard into different situations. It's just fun because I want to see how he'll react. So Richard, for me, has been a character for, gosh, I think he's been a character for, since 2014? Yeah, because that's when I first brought out his character, and then later on, he was a minor character. I made him into one of the main characters in one of the stories that I'm currently editing on and off. Yeah. That story was written 3 years ago. His story where he's the main character, or one of the main characters, one of the protagonists. And I like taking him out and putting him, and he also has this demon called Charcoal. His real name is Charcoal. His real name isn't Charcoal. It's a different name, and his real name is actually Visago, which is a name of an actual demon in one of those demonology book things. And Charcoal and Richard have a kind of brotherly relationship. So they've known each other for over 100 years. And so it's very fun to put them into different situations. And because they bicker sometimes. So I've taken prompts that are like, your character listens to disco music for the first time, and it was like I looked up actual disco music of like 1970s, and the one that came up, which was very popular at the time, was Staying Alive. Yeah, that one. And so I imagined what it would be like for Richard and Charlie to time travel to the 1970s. I say time travel because they are characters from the 1850s. So they time travel to the 1970s just for funsies. And they listen to disco music for the first time and how they react to it. So it was very fun to have them in a sort of situation that's completely different than what they usually are in. So they're usually hunting the souls of rich people and devouring their souls, and doing all kinds of other evil things. But in this moment, it's like there are this moment where they're just bickering brothers, close to friends, and Charcoal makes fun of Richard, who can't sing very well, and Richard is like, why didn't you gave me all these powers to do all these great things. You could have at least made me a great singer. And then Charcoal says, well, what would the fun be in that? I have to have something to laugh about. And so I thought, so that's how they would react to this situation. That's interesting. And that's the first time I learned that Richard can't sing, which was, because he thinks that he's so perfect in all kinds of different ways, and that's just the one thing that he can't do. And I thought, oh, that's perfect. I'm going to put that in the story somewhere, because, I don't know, I just like that kind of stuff. I like it when it's like, there's this perfect feeling, there's just one little thing that they just can't do, and it's just so super obvious or something like that. Anyway, so that's like putting your character in a different situation. Where was I? Yeah. So basically in those situations, what I did was I focused more on the dialogue, not like how they're sort of their body language or anything, just dialogue. So just dialogue. And this was actually for a challenge on Instagram, which I'm on. So that was kind of fun, putting Richard and Darko into different situations, seeing how they would react. There's one moment where they meet a serial killer, and they're sort of, because Richard is already kind of like a serial killer, he's kind of immortal, kind of like a vampire kind of situation. But so what would it be like for him to meet someone like him who is not immortal? What would his reaction be? What would he do? How would he react in this situation? Because it doesn't happen in his story. Like, he doesn't come across anyone else like him. Anyway, we shall move on to this last paragraph. It says, characters in a novel need to be so much more than chess pieces to be moved about the board according to your strategy. Exactly. And I'm not so very good at doing this all the time. Sometimes they do turn out to be chess pieces. Turn into be chess pieces. Because I'm not very good at getting to know my characters. This is something that I've only recently started to really think about. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, you can tell I'm pausing and thinking if I have any more comments on this. No, and I because I'm not good at doing it. That's the thing. Getting to know my characters. I've only recently, in my main project, I know this video is getting so super long. My main project, called Lunar Heart Shadowbound, is main character Pinty. She's a bipedal feline. So she's a feline that is sort of like, her body is like kind of humanoid, but not really, kind of anthropomorphic. And I, for a long time, didn't really know her because I never put her through these sort of exercises. I couldn't figure out how she would react to different situations, and that's why I was using Richard and Charcoal, because they're just so easy to just plug into different situations. Because I knew them so well. I knew them more than I knew Pinty, which she's my main project. Yeah, so, but not recently, but maybe this past few years, I've started to figure out who Pinty is. Not just what they do in the story and what their names are, like it says here. I've created some character mood boards, but not enough for her, and throwing her into different or difficult situations, not much. I mean, I have now, and some dialogue that doesn't appear in the story, like I haven't done that enough. I feel like I should. Maybe I should. Maybe that's some exercise that I could do or something. Maybe I could start a challenge on Instagram, and that's a good way for me to do things. Sometimes the reasons I start challenges start out very selfish. It's just because I want to do it. Yeah. Well, anyway, let us move on. Sort of a summary. It's good to get to know your characters. I'm not good at doing it. You should do it. You should do it. It really helps to understand your characters' motivations and everything. I didn't know why Pinty was going to go and find the Moonstone that would help her destroy her enemies other than revenge. I realized this revenge can't just come from, you can't just have revenge with nothing attached to it. It has to stem from something. So I thought, okay, her reason is because her reason for wanting to find the Moonstone is because she needs to save her sister. So that's where it goes. Anyway. Okay, we shall move on. I stopped on this slide for so far too long. You're probably so sick and tired of looking at this slide. Okay, let's move on. I said, let's move on. Okay. Number 7. Alternate between plotting and writing. While you're in the early pages of your novel, that's an interesting way to say it. Not early stages, early pages, I'd advise you to do a combination of working out the plot of your story and, italics, writing. Figuring out your plot will help to give focus and purpose to your writing. But conversely, feeling your way into the writing itself will help you to understand your story in a different and more visceral way. Each way of working should help you with the other. I feel like this is a very fluffy, surface level kind of thing. Nothing very so specific written here, so I have no idea what's... Okay, let's take a coffee break. Drink your water. Drink whatever it is you're drinking. Okay. Alternate between plotting and writing. Plotting is part of writing, the writing process. Anna Davis? Where are you going with this? Plotting. Okay, so I'd like to say plotting doesn't always mean outlining. I might have said something like it's plotting, it's outlining before, but no, it's not. It's plotting. You can plot a story and still be a pantser. So what I do when I start stories is that I know how it begins, a vague idea about the middle, and then I know how I want to end it. And then I just write it. That's how I go about it. So it's not like I do zero plotting either. Like if I'm writing a chapter, I come to the end of the chapter. Usually I try to finish a chapter if I started writing it before I call it a day. Sometimes I can't do that, and that's okay. So I usually leave myself notes because starting out with a blank page is pretty daunting and could be kind of writer's blocky. And sometimes when I've finished a chapter, I'd still have ideas but not feel like writing them. So I'd write I haven't done this recently for Pinty's story, but like something like Pinty meets the guy with the moonstone. They have a conversation. Finds out shocking thing. Wow. It's just like that. I just like write whatever. Just keep making new lines. Keep just writing whatever comes to my mind for like that moment. And sometimes if I feel like I can write a paragraph at that moment, I do. Sometimes I end up not using that paragraph. But in the moment, I do sort of plot ahead for myself for the next writing session. So even though I am a pantser and I do write by the seat of my pants, it's not like I don't plot. So the plotting part is also part of the writing. You get it? Yeah. So I'm not alternating particularly. I don't feel like I'm alternating, like I'm actually having a plotting session. But yeah, anyway. Feeling your way into the writing itself will help you to understand your story in a different and more visceral way. Feeling your way into the writing. It sounds like maybe Anna Davis could be more familiar with writing by the seat of her pants. I don't know. Could be. She's a plantser, which is in the middle. Yeah, I don't know what this is. But if I would say it in my words, it would be to, when you're writing, to leave yourself notes for the next session. That would be how I would interpret this part. Okay. Moving on. Okay, why is this one so long? Tip 8. Work out your structure. Okay. Once you're making some headway with your story and you're getting words down on the page, take some time to think about the structural features of your novel. Will your story span a week, a year, a lifetime? And will you divide it up into short chapters or just a few long sections corresponding to where the action happens? Will you have a first-person narrator who's looking back on the events of your story, or is the story unfolding in the present? Will you tell it in first or third person? Making key decisions about structure and the means of telling your story can help you get off on a sure footing. Oh, okay. Now this is where when advices pass about 5 or 6, they start kind of going downhill because they don't have anything else to say, but they know they need to make tips more than 5 or 6. That's what I've been finding. I haven't found any. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Who is this for anyway? A newbie writer, an experienced writer? I don't know. Okay. I've been using a lot of my own experiences and examples. Let me tell you one fun thing that happened to me. It's not fun, but this happened to me. So I have a book. I have a novel. It's on Wattpad. It's called Lone Gold Daring Purple. And the story happens in a week. The entire novel happens only in a week. And somebody commented on my writing and said, there is no way this should happen in a week. Like, why is it a week? There's no way. And I thought, well, but it did. I mean, it's not like I want to, have they not read a story that obviously looks like it was happening in a week? Maybe even only happens in 3 days. But when you think of a day, it's 24 hours. So much different things can happen in 24 hours. Like, imagine you are a singer. You have just sent in your audition tape to like a talent show. Within that day, you get a call to the talent show, and within that day, you arrive at the talent show and you sing on stage. And that can happen within a day. Those things can actually happen. So your life can go from 0 to 100 in a day. It's possible also for you to travel a long distance in a day. If you have no stoplights or anything, like if you are in a fantasy setting that's just pathways through a forest or something like that, and you're walking most of the time, you can make quite a bit of headway. So a story can be happen in a very, very short time. It could also be a lifetime kind of story. Like, what was it? Oh, yes. The book I read called 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khalid Hosseini. Sorry if I said their name wrong. So 1,000 Splendid Suns begins with one of the characters at, how old is she? Like 5 or 6 or something? She's really young. The story ends with them about 40 or 50 years old. Yes. So that's like a lifetime, right? So that can happen. Or it could be like about a year. So I think I've only seen the movie, so I don't know. Harry Potter's novels, I think it spans like a year. The stuff that happens in the book is a year. So every year of his sort of school year or schooling year or something, at least until about maybe book 5 or something. I don't know. There's a point where they've, not that they've, did they graduate? I don't know. I can't really remember, but I know that at least the last books didn't span a year, maybe. But they happened in months or something like that, I think. I did not read the books, okay? I just couldn't get into them. Anyway, so a story can happen during a really short span of time or a long span of time. It could be a few days, a week, a year, a lifetime, even longer. Even longer, if you want that to do. Now, that happen if maybe your character is a vampire or something like that, or they're immortal, whatever. Vampires are immortal? Yes, they are. So it says, will you divide it up into short chapters, just a few long sections? If you want to plan out your structure, yes, go for it. I don't, because I'm a pantser. So whatever feels right at the moment is what I do. It's really hard to explain. When I think, okay, seems like a good end to this chapter, then I just end it there. And if I think that the events should happen at a sort of a slower pace, where if I want to skip time or something, I would say a week later, or something like that, or at the start of summer, and like the previous chapters were in spring, and then I say at the start of summer, so you know that some time has passed. And, or, I do sometimes do time skips, but if I feel like that I shouldn't do a time skip because there are some things during that time that I need to talk about, but I don't want to go into full story detail, I would say over the course of the week, Pinty learned how to be a good leader, or whatever, whatever it is. So I would say what happened during that week. I wouldn't like go into the details of what happened every day or every hour during that week. So I would sort of decide that if I feel at that moment that seems necessary to tell Pinty's story. Will you have first person narrator or third person looking back the events of a story, or is the story unfolding in the present? I can't really give any advice of this. I think it's good to ask yourself these kinds of things. I mean, I really just pants. I only write in third person nowadays. When I first started out, I was writing a lot in first person. I think that's because it was a lot easier to get into first person for me at the time. Because I could imagine that I was the character, and it was easy to tell it as if it's like my story. Get what I mean? So, would start out like I was running through the forest, and I didn't know when the evil master would catch up with me or whatever. It was easier to get into like the action of the moment with the moment of the action with first person. So but now I'm only writing in third person. I haven't written in first person for quite a while. Sometimes when I do free writing exercises, I do write in first person. Sometimes, not all the time. It's really, for me, it's really a feeling thing. Whatever it is that I feel would work at the moment, or whatever it is I feel like doing at the moment, is what I do. So, I mean, I can't give any particular opinions on this. Yeah, it's good stuff to think about. Good stuff, a good tip, I think. It's a little bit fluffy general, kind of, work. I don't know if first, third person thing is structure. When I think about structure, I think of like the story beats, like the beginning, the middle, the end, thinking about that, first person and third person, that's like that's a point of view. Is that part of the structure? Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, we shall move on. This video is getting too long. Okay, tip 9. Give yourself some targets to aim for. This isn't for everyone, but lots of us like to have deadlines and goals. Perhaps you'll decide that you need to try to write 3,000 words per week or 1,000 words per day. Maybe you'll go for some broader deadlines, such as deciding that you need to be a third of the way through your first draft by Easter, or by the time of your summer holiday, or have the whole of your first draft written by the end of the year. Think of some deadlines and targets that feel realistic and achievable for you. There's no point setting yourself up to fail. And be ready to adjust and rethink if necessary. Good tip. Okay. Anna Davis, good tip. Okay. Yes, this isn't for everyone. Having deadlines isn't for everyone. I don't usually work well with deadlines. I do have a kind of a, what do you call it? It's called like a reach goal. It's like, by this time I want to finish editing. And if this doesn't happen, then it just doesn't happen. And it's fine. It's fine it doesn't happen. And I just adjust and rethink. Okay, so when can I get it done by? Or maybe I can get it done by a certain point, before a certain time. So I am actually, this video is really going to, be a sort of time thing right here. I'm going to be setting myself up for people in the future, not knowing that I haven't disappeared. Okay, so in 2023 September, by the time when I'm making this video, 2023 September, most of September, I am going to be gone. So I won't be uploading any videos during the month of September. I can't make them in advance. That's not how I work. So you're just going to have a blank. You're just going to have a blank from me for the entirety of September. But I have 2 videos planned. See, this is where I'm different in writing. I have to plan some videos in advance. I don't record them in advance, but I plan them in advance. I have one about NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, and I'm going to start another series of writing advice articles. So I looked up a new key phrase in Google and thought, I could use this. I have some things to say about that. So anyway, I will be gone from the entirety of September for 2023, so you won't see me during that time. And I'm saying this right here because I realized I should probably say it, because it affects all other deadline things that I had planned, because I had the deadline to finish editing in August. Well, actually, I had to initially want to finish editing Pinty's story by the end of July, and that didn't happen. Now I hope to finish it by the end of August, which doesn't seem likely to happen. I wish it did, but no. Life threw me lemons, and I took them, and they were sour. So, yeah. So then I have the entirety of September where I'm not doing anything on it. Like, ugh. I wish maybe I'll be able to do a little bit for it while I'm gone. But anyway, so yeah, I have to readjust and rethink what my deadline is, hoping to get it done in October. I actually did want to publish my novel this year because it's 2023. My birthday is October 23. I thought it would be fun to publish my book on October 23, 2023. That would be kind of fun, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I still have December 23, 2023, if I want to do the 23, or I could try to publish it on Christmas. So I know I'd be away for the winter. So, I don't really know what's going to happen. I have to adjust and rethink all the time with my deadlines. So, you're not alone, basically, is what I want to say. My deadlines are not hard deadlines. Some people work better with hard deadlines. I've heard stories of people who need hard deadlines, like they have those for themselves. Some people, I knew a writer or a couple of writers who have ADHD, and they say that sometimes these hard deadlines could be helpful to them. Sometimes not so much, depending on person. Anyway, so yeah, give yourself some targets to aim for. That's good. And the way that that Anna Davis phrased this, saying perhaps you'll decide that you need to try to write 3,000 words or 1,000 words per day. Maybe you'll go for something, using these words like perhaps, maybe, be ready to adjust and rethink, saying that deadlines and goals aren't for everyone. That's a really good tip. That's a really good way of phrasing it, because often writing advice articles say that like you have to have a deadline, or you have to write a certain amount a day, or you have to set it up in this way. You have to. It's different from every person. And to write a tip this way, it makes people who are new to feel included, to feel like the way that they are doing it is just one of the ways. There are other ways to do it, and it's just one of the ways, and it's fine, and it's good, and you just do what works for you. And if you can't figure it out right away, you'll figure it out eventually. It's taken me quite some time to figure out, to set myself some vague deadline that actually helps me work towards something, helps me finish something. I thought maybe it wouldn't, but sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. Well, what I'm saying is that this tip is worded nicely to include newbies, to include people who have different schedules and different ways of operating in life. So that's good. Different from like their first tip or so, where they said the word erratic. It sort of contradicts here a little bit, because it's not erratic. It's organized chaos. All right, moving on. Okay, don't worry about wasted time. Lastly, I'd say that nobody has a good writing day every single time they sit down to work. If you hit a tricky patch where the words just don't come, take yourself away from it and spend some time with your plotting and planning, or print out what you've got and do some reading and editing, or just go and read a good book to inspire yourself. I think what she's saying here is that it's not, so it says don't worry about wasted time. Calling it wasted time at all is kind of, problematic. No time is wasted. If you think about you're wasting time, it's like you're thinking about that time as like a negative time for you. It's not a negative time. If you just can't write, you can't write. If things come up in your life and you don't have like a mental capacity to work on other things, you don't have space in your mental mind to work on other things, that it's fine. You don't have to have the mental space all the time. You can take a break, and it's good to take breaks. And you shouldn't see that taking a break is a waste of time. And even if in those times when taking a break, you don't have to do something to do with your writing all the time if you just really don't feel like it. That doesn't make you less passionate than someone who is writing every day. You can still be passionate about your novel, about your story, even when you are taking a lot of breaks. Like if it's something important to you, doesn't mean that, oh, it's important to you. You have to write every day. You have to do this. You have to do that. No, you can still be, you are valid, you are worthy to be a writer. However way you do it. You can take breaks. You don't have to write every day. You don't have to write good every day. First drafts suck, that's what editing is for. Maybe some days just don't come, like it says here. You can take yourself away from it. You can do other things. Watch a movie, visit friends. Let's see. What do extroverts do? I don't know. Spend time with your family. See, I'm an introvert, so I would watch a YouTube video of my favorite YouTubers, or I would watch a movie. I would do a puzzle. I would read a book. I would chat with my partner, spend time with him. I would do other things. I would maybe not work on that book, work on another book. Or I would read books. Did I already say that? I would go to a coffee shop. Maybe changing my location will help me get into a writing spirit or whatever. I would also illustrate, make covers for Wattpad, make mood boards, just go on Pinterest and browse pretty pictures and just feel good. Just feel good. Maybe watch some funny animal videos or something like that. Animals always make me feel very nice. Especially recently, been really into watching parrots. Parrots and little birds are funny. Did you know that? So yeah. And those times when you're not writing is not like it's wasted. You're just taking some time for yourself. You need to. You deserve it. And just because you haven't been having a good writing session doesn't mean you don't deserve a break. You can take a break. You can just take a break and just do other things. And it's fine. And it doesn't mean that you're less of a writer as someone who is writing every day, like I said. So, I'd say that this is also a good writing tip. I don't know it's a good writing tip about how to start writing a novel. This is already getting into the writing of a novel. This article could have been titled How to Write a Novel. Yeah. Anyway, so we're moving on. There is the continuation of that, and I didn't put continue down here. Okay, well, actually moving on. Let's see if whatever else she says here. This is still tip 10, by the way. Don't worry about wasted time. Sometimes it's precisely when we think things are going really well with a novel and we're producing lots and lots of words that we hit a stumbling block. It might mean there's a problem with your story that you have to solve, but equally, it could just be that your, quote, back brain, the bit that dreams up the story and controls the direction of travel, needs to catch up with your front brain where the writing of the words happens. Parentheses, disclaimer, I have no idea which part of your brain actually performs these separate functions. This is just my way of articulating the way that writing happens. If you're stuck, you just need the time to become unstuck. If you have to cut whole swatches of your work, Don't delete them. Keep them somewhere safe. You may yet find them coming in useful. Nothing is ever wasted, not if you're smart about it. Okay, so she says to keep deleted scenes. I only keep deleted scenes. My nose is just so itchy right now. Hold on. Just so itchy. I have a writing file called, it's actually titled A Deleted Scene, because I was only going to put one in there at the time that I made the file. But since then, I've been putting all my deleted scenes in there. So now it says, so now I titled it, and then I thought, oh, I have multiple, so I'll put an S after scene. And I forgot that I put A in the beginning of the file. So now the file is called A Deleted Scenes, which I kind of like. So I've kept it. I haven't changed it. Thought it was kind of funny that I didn't notice that the beginning was still singular. So I have all my deleted scenes in there. Not all of them. Let me rephrase. All my deleted scenes that I like. I haven't gone back to them. Actually, to be honest, I've written better scenes. Or I reused characters in other places, so I didn't actually need those scenes from that particular story. Coffee break. Coffee break. I say it like it's a part of what I was just saying. So you don't have to keep everything. Like sometimes there are some sections of my writing that I just know that I just don't want to see anymore. I just don't want to see them. It just sucks. It's complete word vomit. I don't even need it anymore, so I just delete it. Yeah, I do that. I would suggest you just keep the parts that you like. It's fine to keep parts that you like. Have deleted scenes. You can even have a deleted scenes if you want to do that, like me. So anyway, yeah, she goes on to this whole thing about what part of your brain is doing the writing and what part is doing the creating. I know there's the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of your brain. I don't know which is the creative side. Is it the left or is it the right? I don't want to say strange things here, so tell me, is the left hemisphere or the right hemisphere of the brain that does the creative stuff? Because I know it's one or the other. I mean, that's the only part of the brains that we have, right? Part of the brains. Wasn't there a song that was a song? Oh yeah, Hey Soul Sister, where they say something left side brains. At first I thought I misheard it, and it wasn't brains, but left side brain. But they do say left side brains. Maybe that's the creative side. I don't know. Anyway, where she's talking here about stumbling block, and if you're stuck, you just need the time to be unstuck. She's talking about writer's block. Some people say writer's block doesn't exist. I say it does. Because it's where you're writing, you might write yourself into a corner. You're like, oh, I don't know how the characters will get out of this. I don't know why I went into this direction with this novel. I have no idea where this is going. And then you just kind of stop. It's really hard when you have to stop right there. It's like, I don't know what to do. Do I just push forward? But I know this is not going to work. Maybe there's a way to work it in. Do I need to delete this? But how far back do I need to delete it so that I'm not stuck anymore? I had this problem with one of my novels on Wattpad called Pause Chase Murder Case. And there was this scene where the main character, Scotch, he's actually a fox-human hybrid, is with his friend, his leopard-human hybrid, Mason. And Scotch and Mason are in their dormitory. They're actually police cadets, like academy students, and they are in their dormitory. And this is a scene where Scotch has discovered some magical stone, and my aim was that eventually he was going to have it somehow. Like it was going to be in his possession at some point in the story. And the thing is that in this world, it's called Elgana. And in Elgana, there's lots of magic. It's everywhere, but where Scotch lives, there's not a lot of magic. Like his people don't practice magic. They don't have powers at all. So he is talking to Mason about how he's forgotten that there was a lot of magic in this world, and now he's come across this magical stone. He wants to know what it does and that kind of thing. And I was writing this, I was thinking, oh, it would be cool if there's this sort of moment where the stone like speaks to him or something. And I wrote myself into a corner in that if the magic happens here, like Scotch is at this academy to follow in his father's footsteps to be a police. They don't say, okay, in Elgana, we don't say man and woman. We say citizen instead of saying human, because there are other creatures in this world. So police citizen, he wants to be a police citizen like his father, who was a captain or something. And his father was murdered, and the suspect, the killer was found, supposedly. But Scotch thinks that this person is wrongly convicted. And so he's at the academy to, one, follow his father's footsteps, two, figure out if the police did a cover-up. So he's kind of there with a double motive. And I wanted the story to be mostly about him, figuring out this mystery with his father, having some drama with other students in the dormitory, especially his roommate. And then there was supposed to be this magical moment. I wanted to have a magical moment happen somewhere in the story. But I realized if it happens too early, then I have to go with it, right? I have to keep talking about this magical moment. I can't just like say it happened and then just doesn't happen again, because that's weird. And I thought, well, how involved are the other characters other than Scotch going to be in this magical moment? I thought, do they all find out about it? They all learn about this magic stone. I was thinking that they would find out about it, but then if that happens, then at this point in the story, they haven't figured out who the, if the police were actually doing a cover-up. They haven't even figured it out at this point yet. So I thought, well, but I need this magical moment to happen somewhere. So I started to put it in the beginning, and it just was too early to introduce this magical moment, because then how does this magical moment connect to Scotch figuring out who the real murderer is? Or finding him, or whatever. How does this all play in? If it's introduced so early, then the magic becomes like the main part, which I don't want this story to be that way. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Am I going to scrap? Because I had it written about like a chapter at that point. I need a coffee break. Okay. I had written about a chapter at that point. I was like, how am I going to connect everything? It's like, oh, I've written myself into a corner. I don't know what to do. So I was stuck for a couple months, I think. I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to continue this? What is this story even about? So eventually I deleted the entire chapter. Yeah, that happened. There was one snippet from that chapter that I did keep in my deleted scenes file. But most of it I deleted because it was just, too early to introduce this magical stone, and I didn't want every one of his friends to be involved with this magical stone. I wanted to be only Scotch, and if then, maybe just even one other person or something like that. Just because no one else is actually supposed to know about the existence of this stone. There's a lot of lore behind that anyway. So I eventually figured out how the story would play out first without the magic being introduced. And I wanted the magic of Elgana for Scotch to appear as naturally as possible, because it's not a shock to him that magic exists. And so it shouldn't be like oh my gosh, magic exists in this world to the reader either. Like, if this reader has not read any of my other Elgana books, then reading this book and like, shocker, there is magic in this world. It shouldn't be a shock. It should be sort of as naturally introduced as possible. So I figured out ways to do that. But it took me a while to figure out that that's what I had to do. So yeah, I was stuck in this writer's block writing corner for some time. I was like, I don't know what to do. So anyway, that does happen. And yeah, so I only kept a scene that I liked. It was dialogue, some dialogue that I liked that happened between Scotch and his friend Mason. But yeah, so I figured it out. And now that figured out version is on Wattpad, Paws Chase Murder Case. I like the title. I like that title because it's a serious story, but it's not too serious. There are some funny, I think they're funny. There were some humorous, lighthearted moments that happen in the story. It's not always, ooh, who was the murderer? Oh, no. There are some, I do have dormitory drama going on in there. Drama with roommates, some frenemies. It's a fun time. Story happens during the summer, actually. So if you want a summer read, maybe a little bit of a self-promotion here. Check out my Wattpad account or something. Okay, now we're getting a little bit on too much of a tangent. This video is super long, and I am not going to edit it, so it's going to be even longer with all the ums and ums that I have in this video. Okay, well, that was a roller coaster ride, and that is actually the end. Those are all the tips. Those are all the tips from Curtis Brown Creative, written by Anna Davis on January 16, 2020, 3 years ago. Most recent one that I could find. So, my thoughts on what's been said so far. Well, my thoughts on what's been said so far is that Curtis Brown Creative has been the most promising writing advice article. The most promising one. I would recommend people to Curtis Brown Creative. I would actually send newbies to this article because it's written in a way that includes newbies. I did not think that would be actually possible, but it includes newbies and even people who are experts or they've had a lot of experience like me. There are still things from that I can learn from. Like getting to know my characters is something that I'm still not so very good at. And I was reminded of that by reading this article. So that's good. And maybe there are some other people like me who read these tips and realize, hey, I'm a little bit lacking in here actually. Maybe there's some things that I can still learn. And then you go and learn them, right? So I think that this is a pretty good, I mean, there are some tips that were a little bit like, I don't know. Is it, I would call it erratic kind of way, style. Like if that's the way you work, then it's not erratic. Saying it's erratic and that you'll definitely have some struggling later on, it's not to say. It's not a thing. It's not for everyone. Not everyone is like that. You can work in chaos. That's fine. So, is this really about how to start writing a novel? Well, parts of it is how to start writing a novel. Parts of it is how to write a novel. But yeah, I'd give it to them. They did pretty good. They did pretty good. If I would give this a rating, I haven't done ratings on the other ones because they were just so, some of it was so bad. If I would give this a rating, maybe a 4 out of 5 stars, like how you would review a book, maybe a 4 out of 5 stars. Almost there. Almost perfect. But pretty good. Anna Davis. You know your stuff, is what I'll say. I've been talking for like, I don't know. How long is this video? I don't even know. 2 hours? 3 hours? Drinking water now. Not coffee. Water. I need water. So anyway, that is the end. So, yeah, that's the end. This is the last slide. I don't have anything else here. So thank you for listening. I hope you were able to get your chores done. Hope you had a good time listening. Actually don't know if my voice is like a soothing type of voice. I have a very hard voice. I would consider myself to have a hard voice. I don't have a very soothing speaking voice. I don't have a good microphone because I just can't be bothered. Maybe someday I will be bothered, but not today. And so anyway, I don't know if it was a good listen. You can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Yes. Okay. So that is the